He got dumped and struggled raising black twins, doing everything to give them a better life. For years, he sacrificed, loved, and fought to be the father they deserved. But just as he thought the worst was behind him, a shocking twist changed everything. He finds out they're not his. What happens when the very foundation of his life crumbles? Why did the mother of the twins lie about their paternity? And most importantly, can the bond they've built survive this devastating truth? The answers will break your heart and restore your faith in what truly makes a family. Would you stay after everything? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. Sean Harper stood in the tiny kitchen of their modest apartment, carefully wrapping 2 small presents in colorful paper he'd saved from last Christmas. His weathered hands, marked by years of hard work, moved with gentle precision as he secured each fold with tape. The gifts weren't much, just 2 sketch pads and colored pencil sets, but he knew his girls would treasure them. In the living room, 6-year-old twins Chloe and Emma were busy creating birthday decorations from construction paper and old magazines. Their excited chatter filled the apartment with warmth, making Sean's heart swell with love despite the constant worry about money that weighed on his shoulders. "Daddy, look!" Chloe called out, holding up a paper chain she'd made. Her dark curls bounced as she jumped up and down. "It's going to go all around the room." Emma, the quieter of the twins, was meticulously cutting out paper hearts. "And these will go on the walls," she said softly, her face showing intense concentration. "Mrs. Calloway helped me draw the pattern." Sean smiled, thinking of their elderly neighbor who had become like a grandmother to the girls. Mrs. Calloway often watched the twins when Sean had to work late at his second job at the grocery store. Her kindness had been a blessing these past 6 years. "Those are beautiful, sweethearts," Sean said, quickly hiding the presents behind his back as he came into the living room. The girls were too absorbed in their crafts to notice. Their small living room was already transformed by their efforts. Paper decorations hung from every possible surface, slightly crooked, but made with such love that they looked perfect to Sean. The twins had inherited their mother's artistic talent, though Sean tried not to think about Sophia and how she'd walked away when the girls were just babies. Instead, he focused on the present moment, watching his daughters create magic from simple paper and glue. A gentle knock at the door announced Mrs. Calloway's arrival. The silver-haired woman entered carrying a small chocolate cake, her kind face beaming. "Happy almost birthday, girls." "Mrs. Calloway," the twins exclaimed in unison, rushing to hug her legs. The older woman carefully set the cake on the coffee table before bending down to embrace them properly. "I thought we could have a little pre-birthday celebration," she said, winking at Sean. She knew his payday wouldn't come until after the girls' actual birthday, and this way they could spread out the joy. Sean felt his throat tighten with emotion. He'd been working extra shifts, picking up any overtime he could, but it never seemed enough. The girls needed new shoes for school, and the electric bill was higher than usual this month. Yet moments like these reminded him that wealth couldn't be measured just in dollars. "Look at all these wonderful decorations," Mrs. Calloway exclaimed, admiring the paper chains and hearts. "You girls have made this place look like a palace." Emma tugged at her sleeve. "We used the glitter you gave us too," she said proudly, pointing to the sparkly birthday signs they'd made. "And I drew our family," Chloe announced, holding up a crayon drawing. It showed 3 stick figures, Sean in the middle holding hands with a twin on each side. Their smiles were drawn extra big, and hearts floated all around them. Sean blinked back tears as he looked at the picture. They might not have much, but they had love in abundance. He watched as his daughters showed Mrs. Calloway their other creations, their faces glowing with joy and pride. These simple moments, he realized, were worth more than all the expensive presents in the world. The afternoon sun streamed through their small window, catching the glitter on the girls' homemade decorations and making them sparkle like diamonds. In that moment, their tiny apartment felt like the richest home in the world. The small apartment buzzed with the happy chaos of a children's birthday party. A handful of neighborhood kids crowded around the coffee table where 2 identical birthday cakes sat, one for each twin. The frosting was a little uneven, evidence of Sean's loving but amateur attempt at cake decoration, but the 6 candles on each cake burned bright. "Make a wish," Sean encouraged, his phone ready to capture the moment. Chloe and Emma exchanged excited glances, their matching party dresses slightly wrinkled from playing. Emma closed her eyes tight while Chloe barely paused before they both leaned forward to blow out their candles. The other children cheered, and Mrs. Calloway started cutting slices of cake for everyone. "What did you wish for?" Tommy from next door asked, his face already smeared with chocolate frosting. "Can't tell," Chloe giggled. "Or it won't come true." Emma nodded seriously in agreement, carefully eating her cake with a plastic fork. The children sat in a circle on the floor, paper plates balanced on their laps, while Sean watched from the kitchen doorway. His heart felt full seeing his girls so happy surrounded by friends. A knock at the door barely registered over the children's laughter. Sean walked over, assuming it was another neighbor coming to wish the girls happy birthday. But when he opened the door, his world tilted sideways. Sophia Miller stood in the hallway looking exactly as beautiful as the day she'd left 6 years ago. Her dark hair was perfectly styled, her designer clothes a stark contrast to the modest surroundings. She held 2 wrapped presents, expensive-looking ones with professional bows. "Hello, Sean," she said softly, her eyes moving past him to where the party was happening. "I heard it was their birthday." Sean's throat went dry. His hands gripped the doorframe as if it could steady his spinning thoughts. "Sophia," he managed to say, his voice barely above a whisper. "What are you doing here?" I wanted to see them," she replied, shifting uncomfortably. "I know I should have called first, but I was afraid you wouldn't let me come." The party sounds behind Sean seemed to fade away as he stared at the woman who had abandoned their family without a backward glance. His protective instincts flared. "You're right," he said firmly. "I wouldn't have." Sophia's perfectly made-up face showed a flicker of hurt. "They're my daughters too, Sean. I've been thinking about them, about everything. I want to make things right." "Right?" Sean's voice cracked slightly. 6 years, Sophia. 6 years without a word, without a birthday card, without child support. And now you just show up? "I know I made mistakes," she said, her eyes filling with tears that Sean couldn't trust. "But I've changed. I want to be part of their lives again. Please, Sean, just let me see them. Let me give them their presents." Sean glanced over his shoulder at the twins, still happily enjoying their party, blissfully unaware of the earthquake happening at their front door. They had no idea who this woman was. The thought hit him like a physical blow. "This isn't the time," he said, turning back to Sophia. "This is their birthday party. I won't let you disrupt it." "Then when?" Sophia pressed, taking a step forward. "We need to talk about this, Sean. About them. About everything." Her voice lowered. "There are things you need to know." Sean felt a chill at her words, at the way she wouldn't quite meet his eyes. Something in her tone made his stomach knot with anxiety, but before he could respond, Chloe's voice rang out behind him. "Daddy, come see what Emma drew." "Please," Sophia whispered. "Just think about it. I'll leave my number." She pulled out a business card and held it out, her hand trembling slightly. Over the next few weeks, Sean watched with a heavy heart as Sophia began making regular appearances at their home. He had set strict rules. Visits could only happen in the afternoon, never longer than 2 hours, and always under his supervision. The thought of leaving his girls alone with the woman who had abandoned them made his stomach churn. "Look what I brought," Sophia would exclaim during her visits, pulling out expensive toys and treats from designer shopping bags. The twins' eyes would light up, and Sean felt a familiar ache in his chest. He couldn't compete with these lavish gifts, not on his modest salary. One afternoon, as the girls played with their new art supplies from Sophia, Sean observed from the kitchen doorway. Emma was carefully drawing what looked like a family portrait, while Chloe chattered excitedly about her day at school. "And then during recess, I showed everyone the pretty bracelet you gave me," Chloe said, holding up her wrist where a delicate silver charm bracelet sparkled. Sophia beamed. "I'm so glad you like it, sweetie. I saw it and thought of you right away." Sean's jaw tightened. He hadn't even known about the bracelet. "Sophia, can we talk for a minute?" he asked, gesturing toward the kitchen. Once they were alone, Sean kept his voice low but firm. We need to discuss the gifts. You can't keep showing up with expensive presents every time." "Why not? I'm just trying to make up for lost time," Sophia replied defensively. "Because it's not about the gifts. You can't buy their love, and you can't erase 6 years of absence with toys and jewelry." Sophia's face fell. "That's not what I'm trying to do. I just want them to know I care." "Then show them by being consistent, by showing up when you say you will, by actually listening to them instead of trying to impress them." Back in the living room, Sean noticed subtle changes in the twins' behavior. Emma, usually quiet and thoughtful, had started asking more questions about Sophia. "Why didn't Mommy live with us before?" she'd whisper at bedtime, her small voice filled with confusion. Chloe, on the other hand, seemed to be developing a concerning pattern of comparing everything. "Sophia's house has a swimming pool," she'd mention. Or, "Sophia says my drawings are perfect," making Sean wonder if she was starting to see their simple life as somehow lacking. During one visit, Sean overheard Sophia telling the girls about her beautiful house by the beach. "You should come visit sometime," she said, her voice bright with enthusiasm. "You'd have your own rooms, decorated however you like." Sean's heart stopped. This wasn't part of their agreement. He watched as the twins' faces lit up at the prospect, and something inside him cracked. The fear he'd been pushing down since Sophia's return bubbled to the surface. The fear that she might try to take them away, that the girls might actually want to go with her. "That sounds amazing," Chloe exclaimed while Emma nodded eagerly. Sean cleared his throat. "Girls, it's time to start getting ready for dinner. Say goodbye to Sophia, please." As he watched Sophia hug the twins goodbye, Sean noticed how natural these moments were becoming, how easily she was weaving herself into their daily life. The boundaries he'd set seemed to be blurring, and with each visit he felt his grip on their simple, happy life loosening just a little bit more. That night, as he tucked the girls into bed, he noticed new photos on Emma's nightstand, selfies taken with Sophia during her visits. His daughter's smile was radiant in each one, and the sight made his heart ache with a mixture of love and fear. The news hit Sean like a physical blow. He sat in his living room staring at Sophia, who had just announced her engagement to a wealthy real estate developer, and her plans to file for custody of the twins. "They need their mother," Sophia declared, her diamond ring catching the afternoon light. "And now I can provide them with everything they could ever want. A big house, the best schools, opportunities you simply can't give them." Sean's hands trembled as he gripped the arms of his chair. They already have everything they need: love, stability, a father who's been there every single day of their lives. "Let's be realistic, Sean." Sophia's voice took on a condescending tone. "You're barely making ends meet. My fiancé and I can give them the life they deserve." The words felt like daggers to his heart. As soon as Sophia left, Sean pulled out his phone with shaking fingers and called the one person he knew could help. Rachel Turner answered on the second ring. "Sean, what's wrong?" "Can you come over? I need your help." His voice cracked. "It's about the girls." 20 minutes later, Rachel sat across from Sean at his kitchen table, her professional demeanor softened by concern. She'd known Sean since college, watched him raise the twins alone, and seen firsthand the dedication he poured into being a father. "She can't just walk back into their lives and take them," Rachel said, her legal pad already filled with notes. "You've been their sole caregiver for 6 years. That carries significant weight in family court." Sean ran his hands through his hair. "But you heard what she said. She can give them everything I can't. The judge will see her successful career, her fancy house, her perfect new life." "What the judge will see," Rachel interrupted firmly, "is a mother who abandoned her children and a father who stepped up. We'll gather testimonials from their teachers, their pediatrician, even Mrs. Calloway next door. Everyone who's witnessed your dedication to those girls." She reached across the table and squeezed his hand. The gesture was professional, but her touch lingered a moment longer than necessary. "Sean, you've been there for every skinned knee, every nightmare, every school play. You've worked extra shifts to make sure they could take dance lessons. You've created a loving, stable home. But what if it's not enough?" The fear in his voice was raw. Rachel pulled out her laptop and began typing. Let's start building our case. I want documentation of every parent-teacher conference you've attended, every doctor's appointment, every birthday party you've planned. We'll show the court that you've been more than just present. You've been everything those girls needed. As they worked through the afternoon, Rachel methodically constructed a timeline of Sean's involvement in the twins' lives. She noted how he'd adjusted his work schedule to be home when they returned from school, how he'd learned to braid hair and sew costume patches, how he'd created special traditions like their Sunday morning pancake breakfasts. What about the fact that… Sean hesitated, lowering his voice though the girls were at school. What about the fact that I'm not their biological father? Rachel looked up sharply. What? I found out recently, Sophia told me. Sean's voice was barely a whisper. The girls don't know yet. Rachel's expression softened. Sean, biology isn't what makes a parent. You've been their father in every way that matters. The court will see that. She began making more notes, her legal mind already formulating strategies to protect the family she'd grown to care about deeply. We're going to fight this, she said with quiet determination, and we're going to win. Rachel sat at her desk late into the evening, surrounded by stacks of papers and her laptop's bright screen. Something about Sophia's story wasn't adding up. She'd been digging through public records, social media posts, and employment histories for hours, making careful notes of each discrepancy she found. This doesn't make sense, she muttered, comparing two documents. According to Sophia's LinkedIn profile, she'd been working at a prestigious marketing firm in Chicago during the same months she'd claimed to be at a different company in Boston. Rachel marked it down, adding to her growing list of inconsistencies. Her phone buzzed. A text from Sean. Girls finally asleep. Thanks again for helping with homework duty today. Rachel smiled, remembering how she'd stepped in to help the twins with their math worksheets while Sean worked an extra shift at the warehouse. It had become a regular thing lately, these little moments of helping out. She typed back, anytime. They're getting really good at fractions. Turning back to her research, Rachel discovered something else interesting. Sophia's engagement announcement in the local paper didn't match the timeline she'd given Sean. The article mentioned she'd met her fiancé over a year ago, but she'd told Sean it was a recent relationship. Meanwhile, across town, Sean was sitting at his kitchen table, sorting through bills by lamplight. His eyes were tired from squinting at numbers, trying to figure out how to stretch his paycheck to cover both regular expenses and the mounting legal costs. The twins' birthday cards from last week still decorated the refrigerator, their colorful drawings a reminder of everything he was fighting for. Earlier that day, he'd rushed from his warehouse shift to pick up the girls from school, helped them with their science project about butterflies, made dinner, and got them ready for bed, all while carrying the heavy weight of the custody battle in his heart. Daddy, Emma had asked while he tucked her in, can we have pancakes tomorrow? Of course, sweetie, he'd replied, trying to keep his voice light despite his exhaustion. With chocolate chips? And strawberries, Chloe had chimed in from her bed across the room. Nah. Now in the quiet of the kitchen, Sean looked at their school pictures on the wall. The girls were growing so fast, their smiles bright and carefree, unaware of the storm brewing around them. They still chatted excitedly about their school's upcoming play and argued about whose turn it was to feed their goldfish. Their biggest worry was whether they'd get to wear their favorite shoes to the park tomorrow. The next morning, Rachel arrived early at her office, armed with coffee and determination. She spread out her findings on her desk, a timeline of Sophia's movements over the past 6 years, documentation of her employment history, and social media posts that contradicted her claims about where she'd been and what she'd been doing. Look at this, Rachel said when Sean stopped by during his lunch break. She pointed to a series of posts from Sophia's Instagram account. She claimed she was getting treatment for postpartum depression in Arizona during these months, but she was actually posting photos from parties in Miami. Sean leaned closer, his work shirt still dusty from the morning shift. Why would she lie about that? I think she's trying to create a sympathetic narrative for the court, Rachel explained, shuffling through more papers. But these inconsistencies, they show a pattern of deception that could seriously damage her credibility. The girls asked about her this morning, Sean said quietly. They wanted to know why she hasn't visited this week. Rachel reached for his hand instinctively, You're doing the right thing, protecting them from all this. Let them focus on being kids, on their butterflies and pancakes and goldfish. Sean squeezed her hand back, drawing strength from her unwavering support. I should get back to work. The girls have dance class after school. I'll keep digging, Rachel promised, already turning back to her research. The more we know, the better we can protect your family. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Sean's living room as Sophia stood near the doorway, her designer purse clutched tightly against her side. The twins were playing with their dolls on the carpet, seemingly oblivious to the tension crackling in the air between the adults. Sean leaned against the kitchen counter, his arms crossed, watching every move Sophia made. He'd only agreed to this visit because the girls had asked about her, and he didn't want them to feel caught in the middle of adult problems. "Would you like to see my new doll?" Emma asked Sophia, holding up a cloth doll with yarn hair. "Daddy helped me make her dress." Sophia's perfectly painted lips curved into a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "It's lovely, sweetheart." Chloe looked up from her own doll, her small face scrunched in thought. "Why did you go away before?" she asked suddenly, her innocent question landing like a thunderbolt in the quiet room. "Didn't you want to play with us?" Emma nodded, adding, "Yeah, where did you go? All the other mommies at school stay with their kids?" Sean's heart clenched as he watched Sophia's face pale. The questions they'd all dreaded had finally come, wrapped in the simple curiosity of children. Sophia's hands trembled as she set her purse down. I had to leave for work," she stammered, but the twins weren't satisfied with that answer. "But Daddy works too," Emma pointed out, "and he never left us." Tears welled up in Chloe's eyes. "Did we do something wrong?" "No!" both Sean and Sophia exclaimed simultaneously. Sean moved quickly to sit between his daughters, pulling them close. "You girls never did anything wrong," he assured them, his voice thick with emotion. "Sometimes grown-ups make mistakes, but it's never because of you." Sophia sank into the nearest chair, mascara smudging as she wiped at her eyes. "Your daddy is right," she said softly. "I made mistakes. Big ones. It wasn't about you at all." The front door opened then, and Rachel stepped in, carrying a bag of groceries she'd promised to bring over. She took in the scene before her, the crying twins, Sean's protective embrace, Sophia's obvious distress, and quietly set the bag down. "Hey, sweethearts," Rachel said gently, kneeling beside Sean and the girls. "I brought those special cookies you like. Why don't we go to the kitchen and get some milk to go with them?" The twins nodded, sniffling, and followed Rachel to the kitchen. Through the doorway, Sean could see Rachel helping them climb onto the counter stools, her movements gentle and natural, as if she'd been doing this forever. "I should go," Sophia said, standing abruptly. Her composed facade had cracked, revealing the guilt beneath. "I never meant to upset them." Sean ran a hand through his hair, exhausted. "They were bound to ask eventually," he said. "They're trying to make sense of things." "They have you," Sophia said, glancing toward the kitchen where Rachel was making the girls laugh by drawing silly faces on their cookies with icing. "And they have her. Maybe that's better than what I could offer." After Sophia left, Sean joined Rachel and the twins in the kitchen. Emma was explaining how to make a proper cookie smile, while Chloe carefully arranged chocolate chips around the edges of hers. Rachel caught his eye over the girls' heads, her gaze full of understanding and support. Without a word, she slid a cookie his way, decorated with a wobbly heart. The simple gesture, so characteristic of Rachel's quiet, constant presence in their lives, made Sean's throat tight with emotion. She'd become their anchor in this storm, not just his legal counsel, but something far more precious to all of them. Rachel sat at her desk late into the evening, surrounded by stacks of papers and illuminated by her desk lamp. Her eyes widened as she scrolled through financial records on her computer screen. "This can't be right," she muttered, pulling up another document. The more she dug into Sophia's past, the more troubling patterns emerged. Bank statements showed long periods where Sophia had made purchases in various countries, Paris, Milan, Dubai, while having no contact with the twins. Rachel picked up her phone and dialed Sean's number. "Sean, I found something you need to see." "What is it?" His voice was tired but alert. "Sophia's been living quite lavishly these past 6 years," Rachel explained, shuffling through the papers. "Designer clothes, luxury hotels, first-class flights. But here's what's interesting. 3 months ago, she suddenly started making donations to family-focused charities, right around the time she got engaged." There was a long pause on the other end. "You think this custody battle is just for show? To look good for her fiancé's family?" "It fits the pattern," Rachel said gently. "She's never shown interest in the girls before. Now suddenly she's trying to be Mother of the Year." Sean's voice cracked slightly. "How do I tell them, the girls? They're already confused about why she left. This will break their hearts." "They're stronger than you think," Rachel assured him. "And they have you." Later that evening, Sean sat on the living room floor with Chloe and Emma. Their favorite stuffed animals were scattered around them as they played their usual bedtime game of Animal Family. "Daddy?" Emma asked, hugging her worn teddy bear. "Is Sophia going to take us away?" Sean's heart stopped. "What makes you think that, sweetheart?" "We heard her talking on the phone outside," Chloe explained, her small fingers nervously playing with her rabbit's ears. "She said something about getting her girls back." Sean took a deep breath and opened his arms. Both girls crawled into his lap immediately, seeking comfort in his familiar embrace. "I need you both to listen carefully, okay?" 2 pairs of identical brown eyes looked up at him trustingly. "Nothing, and I mean nothing, could ever take you away from me," Sean said firmly, his voice thick with emotion. "You're my girls, my precious daughters. Whether Sophia is here or not, that will never change." "But what if—" Emma started. "No what ifs," Sean interrupted gently, kissing the top of her head. "Remember when you were scared about starting kindergarten? What did we say then?" "That we're braver together," Chloe answered, snuggling closer. "That's right, and we're still together, aren't we? All of us, including Rachel. We're a team." Emma brightened at Rachel's name. "Rachel makes the best cookies, and she helps us with homework. And she knows all the funny voices when she reads stories," Chloe added. Sean smiled, grateful for how naturally Rachel had become part of their lives. "That's right. And you know what else? Rachel is helping me make sure you girls stay right here, where you belong." "Promise?" both girls asked simultaneously. "Cross my heart," Sean replied, drawing an X over his chest. "I love you both more than anything in this whole wide world. Nothing will ever change that." The twins threw their arms around his neck, nearly knocking him backward. "We love you too, Daddy," they chorused. As Sean held his daughters close, he thought about Rachel's discoveries. The truth about Sophia's motives would eventually come out, but for now, this moment was all that mattered. His girls safe in his arms, secure in their father's love. The aroma of Rachel's homemade lasagna filled Sean's small kitchen as she pulled the bubbling dish from the oven. Sean watched her with grateful eyes while setting the table, appreciating how she'd stepped in to help create a normal evening for the twins after such an emotional day. Chloe and Emma sat at the kitchen counter, carefully coloring place cards for everyone. Their tongues stuck out in concentration as they decorated each name with hearts and flowers. "Can I put a butterfly on Rachel's card?" Emma asked, reaching for the blue crayon. "Only if I can draw stars on mine," Chloe responded, already adding tiny yellow stars to her creation. Sean smiled at their enthusiasm. "Those look beautiful, girls. Rachel, would you like—" The doorbell's sharp ring cut through the peaceful scene. Sean's shoulders tensed as he walked to the front door, already knowing who it would be. Sure enough, Sophia stood there, holding 2 large gift bags decorated with glittery ribbons. "I brought presents for the girls," she announced, stepping inside without waiting for an invitation. Her designer heels clicked against the hardwood floor as she made her way to the kitchen. "Sophia," Sean said firmly, following her. "We didn't expect you tonight." Rachel straightened up from where she was serving the lasagna, her face carefully neutral. The twins looked up from their artwork, their expressions uncertain. "I was in the neighborhood," Sophia said breezily, setting the bags down. and I couldn't wait to give these to my sweet girls." She emphasized the word my, while glancing pointedly at Rachel. "Look what I got you!" Sophia pulled out 2 identical designer dresses. "These are from Paris. You'll look just perfect in them when you come to my wedding." Sean's jaw tightened. They hadn't discussed the twins attending any wedding. "That's very generous," Rachel said diplomatically, placing a reassuring hand on Sean's arm. "We were just about to have dinner. Would you like to join us?" Sophia's eyes narrowed slightly at Rachel's presence, but she smiled. "I'd love to." The dinner that followed was thick with tension. The twins picked at their food, unusually quiet as the adults attempted stilted conversation. "This is delicious," Sophia commented, taking a small bite. "Though I prefer authentic Italian cuisine. Speaking of which, Antonio, my fiancé, and I are thinking of having the wedding in Tuscany. His family has the most gorgeous estate there." "Tuscany?" Emma perked up. "Where's that?" "It's in Italy, sweetheart. You'll love it there. The villa has a beautiful garden where you can play, and your new room will have the most amazing view." "Their room?" Sean interrupted, his fork clattering against his plate. Sophia waved her hand dismissively. "Well, for when they visit, of course. Antonio's family is very traditional. They believe children should have a proper home with both a mother and father." Rachel reached under the table to squeeze Sean's knee, silently urging him to stay calm. "We have a proper home," Chloe said quietly, looking at her father. "Right here." "Oh, sweetie," Sophia leaned forward, her voice honey-sweet. "Of course you do. But wouldn't it be wonderful to have a bigger house, and a mother who can take you shopping and teach you about fashion? Antonio's family is very wealthy. You'll have everything you could ever want." "They already have everything they need," Rachel interjected firmly, noticing how the twins were shrinking in their seats. Sophia's smile turned brittle. "I wasn't asking you." She turned back to the girls. "I've already picked out the most adorable outfits for you to wear to school in Switzerland." "Switzerland?" Sean stood up abruptly, his chair scraping against the floor. "The girls aren't going anywhere, Sophia, especially not to Switzerland." The twins looked between the adults with wide, worried eyes. Emma's lower lip trembled as she clutched her sister's hand under the table. The next morning, Chloe and Emma huddled together in their shared bedroom, whispering excitedly as they worked on their secret plan. "If Mommy and Daddy spend more time together, maybe they'll remember why they loved each other," Chloe said, carefully drawing a heart on a piece of construction paper. Emma nodded eagerly, adding glitter to their creation. "Like in those movies where the prince and princess get back together." The twins had spent breakfast watching their father move around the kitchen with tired eyes, his shoulders slumped as he packed their lunchboxes. They hated seeing him sad. "We should call Mommy," Emma suggested, reaching for the phone they'd borrowed from the kitchen. Their father had programmed Sophia's number in case of emergencies. Chloe dialed with trembling fingers. After 3 rings, Sophia's voice came through. "Hello?" "Mommy?" Emma spoke first, her voice small but hopeful. "Can you come to the park with us today?" "The park?" Sophia sounded surprised but pleased. "Well, I suppose I could make time. Is your father taking you?" "Yes," Chloe chimed in. "He always takes us to the playground on Saturday mornings. Please come." There was a pause on the other end. "All right, darlings. What time?" The girls exchanged excited glances. 10 o'clock, they said in unison. After hanging up, they raced downstairs to find Sean. He was in the living room, sorting through bills with a worried expression. "Daddy!" Emma launched herself onto his lap while Chloe climbed onto the armrest. "Can we go to the park today?" Sean's face softened as he hugged them close. "Of course we can, sweethearts. Let me just finish this paperwork." At the park, Sean pushed the twins on the swings, their laughter filling the air. The girls kept glancing toward the parking lot, waiting for Sophia to arrive. "Higher, Daddy," Chloe squealed, pumping her legs. "Me too," Emma echoed. Sean was so focused on his daughters that he didn't notice Sophia's approach until she was standing right beside him. "Room for one more?" she asked sweetly. Sean's hands stilled on the swing chains. Sophia? What are you doing here? The girls invited me, she replied, waving at the twins who were now jumping off their swings. I thought it would be nice to spend some quality time together. Surprise! The girls shouted, running to hug Sophia's legs. Sean's jaw tightened, but he couldn't bear to disappoint his daughter's hopeful faces. Girls, did you plan this? They nodded enthusiastically. We wanted to play together, Emma explained, like a real family. Sean's heart clenched at their innocent words. Sophia, however, beamed triumphantly. See, she said, stroking Chloe's hair. They want their mother in their lives. It's only natural. Can we play on the monkey bars? Chloe asked, tugging at both adults' hands. With both of you helping? Please, Emma added, her eyes wide and pleading. Sean and Sophia found themselves positioned on either side of the monkey bars, helping the twins traverse the metal rungs. The girls giggled as they swung between their parents, creating a picture-perfect scene that made Sean's chest ache with memories and worry. Just like old times, Sophia commented softly, her eyes meeting Sean's over Emma's head. We could have more moments like this, you know, if you'd just be reasonable about the custody arrangement. Sean's face darkened, but before he could respond, Chloe called out, Watch me do it all by myself. And then the adults turned their attention back to their daughters, forced to maintain cheerful expressions despite the growing tension between them. The twins continued orchestrating moments of forced togetherness, oblivious to the complicated emotions swirling beneath the surface of their innocent plan. Rachel sat across from Sean at his kitchen table, her legal pad covered in neat notes. The afternoon sun streamed through the window, casting a warm glow that contrasted with the heavy conversation. Sean, I need to suggest something, Rachel began gently, her fingers tapping nervously on the table. I think we should conduct a DNA test. Sean's face paled. He glanced toward the living room where the twins were watching cartoons, their giggles drifting into the kitchen. Is that really necessary? It would strengthen your case, Rachel explained, her voice soft but firm. If Sophia pushes for custody, we need every advantage we can get. The court will likely order one anyway. Sean ran his hands through his hair, a gesture Rachel had come to recognize as a sign of his distress. What if... His voice cracked. What if I'm not... Rachel reached across the table and placed her hand over his. Sean, look at me. She waited until his troubled eyes met hers. Those girls are yours in every way that matters. You've been there for every skinned knee, every nightmare, every triumph. They're my whole world, Rachel, Sean whispered, his eyes glistening. From the moment they were born, when I first held them. He swallowed hard. I was there when they took their first steps, said their first words. I've packed every lunch, kissed every hurt better. A burst of laughter from the living room made them both turn. Chloe was chasing Emma around the coffee table, both girls' faces lit with joy. Daddy, Emma called out, can we have ice cream after dinner? Please, Chloe added, clasping her hands together dramatically. Sean managed a warm smile despite his inner turmoil. We'll see, sweethearts. First, finish your homework, okay? Okay, they chorused, racing upstairs to get their backpacks. Once they were gone, Sean turned back to Rachel, his expression vulnerable. What if the test shows? What if Sophia uses it against me? Rachel squeezed his hand. Biology doesn't make a father, Sean. You've been their dad in every way that counts. The court will see that. Sometimes, Sean said, his voice barely audible, I look at old photos from when they were babies. Sophia had already left and I was terrified. But they would look up at me with such trust, such love. He wiped at his eyes. I promised them then that I would always be there, that I would never leave them like she did. And you've kept that promise, Rachel assured him. Every single day. Sean nodded slowly, gathering his courage. You're right about the test. We should do it before Sophia can use it as a surprise tactic. I'll make the arrangements, Rachel said, making a note on her pad. We'll do this privately, quietly. The girls don't need to know right now. From upstairs came the sound of the twins singing their homework song. a silly tune Sean had made up years ago to make study time more fun. The familiar melody made his heart swell with love and determination. "It doesn't matter what that test says," Sean declared, his voice growing stronger. "Those are my daughters. Maybe not by blood, but by choice, by love, by every bedtime story and every Christmas morning, by every tear I've dried and every laugh we've shared." Rachel smiled, her own eyes misty. "That's exactly what makes you their father, Sean. That's what the court needs to see." The homework song drifted down again, accompanied by giggling, and Sean took a deep breath. "Okay," he said. "Let's do the test. But whatever it shows, nothing changes. They're my girls." Rachel's hands trembled as she held the envelope containing the DNA test results. She sat beside Sean in his small home office, the late afternoon shadows stretching across the desk. The twins were at their weekly art class, giving them the privacy they needed for this moment. "Whatever this says," Rachel reminded him softly, "it doesn't change who you are to them." Sean nodded, his throat tight. With shaking fingers, he opened the envelope and unfolded the paper. The clinical language blurred before his eyes until he found the conclusion. His heart stopped. "Not a genetic match," he whispered, the words falling like stones in the quiet room. Rachel placed her hand on his shoulder, but before she could speak, the doorbell rang. Through the window, they could see Sophia standing on the porch, her expensive coat and perfectly styled hair, a stark contrast to Sean's modest home. "I'll ask her to leave," Rachel offered, but Sean shook his head. "No, I need answers." When they opened the door, Sophia took one look at the paper in Sean's hand and understood. The color drained from her face. "You did a DNA test." "Come in," Sean said, his voice eerily calm. "You owe me the truth." In the living room, surrounded by the twins' artwork and family photos, Sophia perched on the edge of the couch. Her usual confidence seemed to crack. "I was young and scared," she began, twisting her engagement ring. "When I found out I was pregnant, the real father wanted nothing to do with us. But you." She looked at Sean with genuine regret. "You were so kind, so excited about becoming a father. I convinced myself it was better this way." "Better to lie?" Sean's voice cracked. "Better to let me believe they were mine?" "I needed stability," Sophia admitted. "You had a good job, a kind heart. I thought I was doing what was best for the girls." "What was best?" Sean stood up, anger finally breaking through his shock. "You left them. You walked away when they were barely 6 months old. How was that what was best?" Rachel moved closer to Sean, her presence steadying him. "I was wrong," Sophia whispered. "About everything. The lies, leaving. I know that now." Sean walked to the mantel, picking up a photo of him holding the twins on their first birthday. Their tiny faces were covered in cake frosting, all three of them laughing. "I changed every diaper, walked the floors during every fever, celebrated every milestone." His voice broke. "I'm the one who held them when they cried for their mother." Tears rolled down Sophia's cheeks. "I'm sorry, Sean, I truly am." "Who is he?" Sean asked, still staring at the photo. "Their biological father?" "It doesn't matter," Sophia said. "He signed away his rights before they were born. He's never tried to contact them." Sean placed the photo back carefully, his mind flooding with memories. Teaching the girls to ride bikes, making heart-shaped pancakes on Valentine's Day, singing them to sleep with made-up lullabies. "I think you should leave," Rachel said firmly to Sophia, who nodded and stood. At the door, Sophia paused. "For what it's worth, you've been a better father than anyone could have hoped for." After she left, Sean sank onto the couch, the DNA results crumpled in his fist. Rachel sat beside him, her shoulder touching his in silent support. "All these years," he whispered. "Every time someone said they have my eyes or my smile, it was all a lie." "No," Rachel said firmly. "They have your heart, Sean. Your kindness, your strength. Those things aren't about DNA." Sean closed his eyes, remembering the way Chloe and Emma's faces lit up every time he walked into a room, how they ran to him with skinned knees and proud accomplishments, trusting him to share both their pain and joy. "They're my daughters," he said finally, his voice rough with emotion. "Maybe not by blood, but by every moment we've shared, every memory we've made. By choice. By love." Rachel sat with Sean on the couch long into the evening, the room growing dim around them. Her legal papers lay forgotten on the coffee table as she focused on being there for her friend. "You know what I remember most about the day they were born?" Sean's voice was soft, his eyes distant with memory. Not the complications during delivery or how tiny they were. I remember the moment they both grabbed my fingers at the same time. Right then I knew I'd do anything for them. Rachel smiled gently. "That's what makes you their father, Sean. Not DNA." "But how do I tell them?" He ran a hand through his hair, worry etching deep lines around his eyes. "They're so young. What if they don't understand?" "They understand love," Rachel said firmly. "That's all they need to know right now." Sean stood and walked to the window, watching the streetlights flicker on. "Sometimes when they're asleep, I go check on them, just to make sure they're okay, you know? And they look so peaceful, so trusting." His voice cracked. "How do I tell them something that might shake that trust?" "By being honest," Rachel said, joining him at the window. "By showing them that nothing has changed in your heart." A soft knock at the door made them both turn. Sophia stood there, looking smaller somehow without her usual confident pose. Sean opened the door but didn't invite her in. "I've been thinking," Sophia said, wrapping her arms around herself. "Watching you today, seeing how much this hurts you." She took a deep breath. "I was wrong to threaten custody." Sean's shoulders tensed. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that you're their father, in all the ways that matter." Sophia's eyes filled with tears. "I walked away. You stayed. You built this beautiful life for them, this home full of love and security. I had no right to try to disrupt that." Rachel moved closer to Sean, ready to support him if needed. "When I came back," Sophia continued, "I thought I could just step in and fix my mistakes. But watching you with them, seeing how they light up when you enter a room..." She wiped her eyes. "That's not something you can replace with court orders or legal rights." Sean's voice was rough with emotion. "They deserve to know the truth." "Yes, they do," Sophia agreed. "But they deserve to hear it from the father who's loved them every day of their lives." Rachel watched as some of the tension left Sean's shoulders. "Maybe," she suggested gently, "we could all work together to help them understand. No more courts, no more fighting, just adults putting the children first." Sean nodded slowly. "They're going to have questions about their biological father, about why you left." He looked at Sophia. "Are you prepared to answer those questions honestly?" "Yes," Sophia whispered. "Even the hard ones, even if it makes them angry with me. They deserve that much." "We could make a plan," Rachel offered, her legal training giving way to simple human compassion. "Find the right words, the right time. Make sure they feel secure before, during, and after." Sean turned back to the window where he could see the twins' bicycles leaning against the garage. "Tomorrow morning I'll make their favorite breakfast, chocolate chip pancakes. We'll sit together like we always do, and I'll start by telling them how much I love them, how being their dad is the greatest gift I've ever received." Rachel squeezed his arm gently. "That's perfect, Sean. Start with love. The rest will follow." The next morning, sunlight streamed through the kitchen windows as Sean flipped another chocolate chip pancake. His hands trembled slightly, but he kept his movements steady for the girls' sake. The sweet aroma filled the kitchen, masking the tension in the air. "Pancakes are ready," he called out, his voice cheerful despite the weight in his chest. Chloe and Emma bounded into the kitchen, their matching pigtails bouncing. They climbed onto their usual seats at the kitchen table, eyes wide at the sight of their favorite breakfast. "Chocolate chip," Emma exclaimed, reaching for the syrup. "And whipped cream too?" Chloe asked hopefully, noticing the can beside their plates. Sean nodded, managing a warm smile. "Extra special breakfast today." He sat down between them, his heart pounding. "Girls, there's something important I need to talk to you about." The twins exchanged glances, picking up on their father's serious tone. They set down their forks, giving him their full attention. "You know how much I love you both, right?" Sean began, his voice soft but steady. "To the moon and back," they chorused, their familiar response bringing tears to his eyes. "That's right." He reached out, taking one of their hands in each of his. "And nothing will ever change that. Ever." He squeezed their small fingers gently. "But there's something I learned recently that I need to share with you." Emma tilted her head. "Is it about Miss Sophia?" Sean nodded slowly. "Sort of. It's about family and how sometimes families can be complicated." He took a deep breath. "Remember how we talked about how some kids have different kinds of families? Like Jenny with her 2 mommies?" Chloe offered. "Yes, exactly." Sean's throat felt tight. "Well, I just found out that, while I'm your daddy in my heart and always will be, I'm not your biological father." The twins' faces scrunched in confusion. "What's biological?" Emma asked. "It means—" Sean struggled to find the right words. "It means that when you were born, another man helped create you, not me." Chloe's lower lip trembled. "But you're our daddy." "Always," Sean assured her quickly, his voice cracking. "Nothing changes that. Being a daddy isn't just about biology. It's about love and caring and being there every day." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Does this mean you don't love us anymore?" "Oh, sweetheart, no." Sean pulled them both into his arms, holding them tight. "I love you more than anything in this whole world. You're my girls, my precious daughters. Nothing could ever change how much I love you." "But Miss Sophia," Chloe hiccuped through her tears. "Is she our real mom?" Sean's heart ached at the word real. "Sophia is your biological mother, yes. But being real isn't about biology either. It's about love and choices and being there for someone no matter what." "Like how you make us soup when we're sick?" Emma asked quietly. "And read us stories every night?" Chloe added. "Yes, exactly like that." Sean wiped their tears with his thumbs. "Being a parent means being there for all those moments, big and small. And I promise you, I will always be here for every single one of them." The twins clung to him tighter, their breakfast forgotten. Sean held them close, letting his own tears fall freely now. They stayed that way for a long while, their pancakes growing cold, but none of them cared about food anymore. "Daddy?" Emma's voice was muffled against his shirt. "Yes, sweetheart?" "Can we still have whipped cream on our pancakes?" Sean laughed softly through his tears, grateful for the simple innocence of children. "Of course we can. Extra whipped cream today." Sophia paced the length of her modern apartment, her heels clicking against the hardwood floors. The setting sun cast long shadows through the floor-to-ceiling windows, making the space feel colder than usual. She stopped at the kitchen counter, picking up the photo she'd taken of the twins at the park. Their smiling faces stared back at her, innocent and trusting. "I can't believe you lied about something this big," James said from the couch, his voice tight with disappointment. Her fiancé ran a hand through his dark hair, looking more frustrated than she'd ever seen him. "I was young and scared," Sophia defended weakly, setting the photo down. "I didn't know what else to do." "So you lied to a man about being the father of your children?" James stood up, his tall frame casting another shadow across the room. "And then you abandoned them all?" Sophia flinched at his words. "I didn't abandon them, I just needed time to figure things out." 6 years, Sophia? That's not figuring things out. That's running away. He moved to the window, putting distance between them. "And now you want to tear them away from the only parent they've ever known?" "Sean's not their real father," she said automatically, but the words felt hollow even to her own ears. James turned to face her, his expression hard. "Isn't he? Because from what I've seen, he's more of a parent than either of their biological ones ever were." The truth of his words hit her like a physical blow. Sophia sank onto one of the kitchen stools, her perfectly manicured hands trembling. I thought I could make things right. By forcing them to live with a stranger? By destroying their relationship with the man who raised them? James shook his head. That's not making things right, Sophia. That's making things worse. I'm their mother, she whispered, but even she could hear the uncertainty in her voice. Are you? James challenged. Being a mother isn't just about DNA. It's about being there for skinned knees and nightmares, for homework and bedtime stories. Where were you for all of that? Tears welled in Sophia's eyes. I was building my career. I was becoming successful. At what cost? James moved closer, his voice softening slightly. And now? What's your real reason for wanting custody? Is it because you genuinely want to be their mother? Or is it because having them fits better with your image now? The question struck deep, forcing Sophia to confront truths she'd been avoiding. She thought about the twins' faces when they'd asked her why she'd left them, the confusion in their eyes when they looked between her and Sean, the way they instinctively turned to him for comfort, not her. I don't know anymore, she admitted quietly. I thought I could just step back in and everything would fall into place, that we could be this perfect family. Life doesn't work that way, James said, sitting beside her. And I have to be honest, Sophia, I'm not sure I can support this custody battle, not when I see how much damage it's causing. What are you saying? She looked up at him, suddenly afraid. I'm saying that if you continue with this, if you keep trying to tear apart a family just to satisfy your own guilt or pride. He took a deep breath. I don't think I can marry someone who would do that. Sophia felt her carefully constructed world starting to crumble. She looked again at the photo of the twins, seeing for the first time not just their smiles, but the love and security that Sean had given them, things she'd never provided. They're happy with him, she whispered, the admission burning her throat. Yes, they are, James agreed softly. The question is, can you accept that? Rachel sat cross-legged on the living room floor, surrounded by art supplies and two eager 6-year-olds. Sunlight streamed through the windows, catching the glitter that seemed to have found its way everywhere. And this is my family, Emma explained, pointing to the stick figures on her paper. That's Daddy, and that's you, Rachel, and that's me and Chloe. Rachel's heart squeezed at being included in the family drawing. It's beautiful, sweetie. I love how you made everyone holding hands. Chloe leaned over, her dark curls falling forward. I'm drawing us having a picnic. See, that's you making those yummy sandwiches you always bring. From the kitchen doorway, Sean watched the scene unfold. Something warm bloomed in his chest as he observed Rachel with his daughters. She had such a natural way with them, always knowing exactly what they needed, whether it was silly jokes to lift their spirits or quiet moments to talk about their feelings. Daddy, Emma called out, spotting him. Come see what we made. Sean moved into the living room, carefully stepping over scattered crayons. These are amazing girls. He caught Rachel's eye and smiled. You're quite the art teacher. Oh, they're the talented ones, Rachel said, her cheeks slightly pink. I'm just here for moral support and glitter distribution. And you're very good at both, Sean teased, noticing there was indeed glitter in her hair. Chloe tugged on Sean's sleeve. Daddy, can Rachel stay for dinner, please? She makes everything more fun. Yeah, Emma chimed in. And she laughs at all your silly jokes, even the really bad ones. Sean felt his own face warm as Rachel chuckled. The twins had been doing this more and more lately, finding ways to push him and Rachel together. Part of him wondered if they were just trying to fill the void left by learning about their biological father, but watching them beam at Rachel, he knew it was more than that. Well, Rachel said, starting to gather up some of the art supplies. I wouldn't want to impose. You're never imposing, Sean said quickly, then cleared his throat. I mean, we'd love to have you stay, if you want to. The twins bounced excitedly. Yes, can we show Rachel how to make pizza faces? Pizza faces? Rachel asked, raising an eyebrow at Sean. It's our Friday tradition, he explained. We make our own pizzas and decorate them with toppings to look like faces. It gets pretty competitive. And messy, Chloe added proudly. Rachel's whole face lit up. That sounds wonderful. I'd love to stay. As they moved to the kitchen, the twins whispered and giggled between themselves. Sean couldn't help but notice how right it felt, having Rachel here like this. She knew exactly how to arrange the ingredients so the girls could reach them safely, remembered Emma's aversion to olives, and praised Chloe's creative use of bell peppers for her pizza's hair. Look, Daddy, Emma said, nudging him. Rachel made her pizza smile just like you do. Sean glanced at Rachel's creation and found himself smiling back at her. There was a bit of flour on her cheek, and her usually perfect hair was slightly mussed from the girl's enthusiastic cooking methods. She had never looked more beautiful to him. You know, Chloe said with exaggerated innocence, Rachel makes Daddy smile a lot too. Chloe, Sean warned gently, but he couldn't deny the truth in his daughter's words. Rachel had brought light back into their lives when they needed it most, not just as his friend and legal advisor, but as someone who genuinely cared about his family. The twins exchanged knowing looks, clearly pleased with themselves. As they all worked on their pizzas together, filling the kitchen with laughter and warmth, Sean realized that somewhere along the way, Rachel had become an essential part of their little family's happiness. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across Sean's living room as he faced Sophia, trying to keep his voice steady despite his rising frustration. You can't just change the visitation schedule whenever you want, Sophia. The girls need stability. I have rights too, Sean, Sophia shot back, her voice carrying through the house. And my lawyer says... Neither adult noticed the twins frozen at the top of the stairs, clutching each other's hands as they listened. Your lawyer doesn't know what's best for them, Sean said firmly. I've been their father for 6 years. But you're not their real father, are you? Sophia's words cut through the air like ice. Emma's small hand tightened around Chloe's. Tears welled up in both their eyes as they looked at each other in silent panic. They're going to take Daddy away, Emma whispered, her lower lip trembling. Chloe tugged her sister's hand. We can't let them. Come on. The twins crept down the back stairs and slipped out through the kitchen door, their hearts pounding. They ran down the street toward the park where they'd spent countless happy afternoons with Sean. Meanwhile, Rachel arrived at Sean's house, finding him and Sophia still arguing. Sean, I brought those papers you... She stopped, noticing the tension in the room. Is everything okay? Everything's fine, Sophia said curtly. We were just discussing... Girls, Sean called up the stairs. Rachel's here. When no response came, he frowned. Emma? Chloe? The three adults searched the house, panic growing with each empty room they found. Sean's face went pale when he discovered the kitchen door slightly ajar. They must have heard us, he said, his voice cracking. Oh God, Rachel, what if... We'll find them, Rachel assured him, already pulling out her phone. Think, Sean. Where would they go when they're upset? The park, he breathed. They always want to go to the park. I'll help look, Sophia offered, but Sean shook his head. No, you've done enough. He turned to Rachel. Come with me. They rushed to the park, Sean's heart hammering in his chest. The sun was starting to set, casting an orange glow over the playground equipment. There. Rachel pointed to the old oak tree near the swings. 2 small figures huddled beneath it, holding each other and crying. Chloe! Emma! Sean called out, running toward them. The twins looked up, their faces tear-stained and frightened. Daddy! They cried in unison. Sean dropped to his knees in front of them, pulling both girls into his arms. Don't ever run away like that again, he said, his voice thick with emotion. You scared me so much. We don't want you to go away, Emma sobbed into his shirt. We heard what Miss Sophia said, Chloe hiccuped, that you're not our real daddy. Sean pulled back just enough to look into their faces, his heart breaking at their fear. Listen to me, both of you. I am your daddy. Nothing anyone says or does will ever change that. Rachel knelt beside them, her eyes glistening. Your daddy loves you more than anything in the world. But Miss Sophia said, Emma started. Sometimes, Sean said gently, wiping tears from their cheeks. Being a real daddy isn't about whose blood you share. It's about who reads you bedtime stories, who kisses your scraped knees, who loves you with all their heart every single day. Like you do? Chloe asked in a small voice. Exactly like I do. Sean hugged them close again. I will always be your daddy, and I will always love you. Nothing will ever change that. Do you understand? The twins nodded against his chest, their tears slowly subsiding as they clung to him. The family counselor's office was warm and inviting, with soft beige walls and comfortable chairs arranged in a circle. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and silver-streaked hair, watched as Sean, Sophia, and the twins settled into their seats. Thank you all for coming today, Dr. Mitchell said, her voice gentle and reassuring. This is a safe space for everyone to share their feelings. Chloe and Emma sat close to Sean, their small hands finding his. Sophia noticed this, and something shifted in her expression as she watched their natural, loving connection. Sophia, Dr. Mitchell began, would you like to start? Sophia took a deep breath, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. Yes, I would. She looked directly at Sean, her eyes filling with tears. I've been watching you with the girls these past few weeks, Sean. Really watching. She paused, glancing at the twins who were listening intently. I saw how you handled their questions about the DNA test, how you never once let them doubt your love, how you put aside your own pain to make sure they felt secure. Sean remained quiet, his thumb gently rubbing circles on Emma's hand as she leaned against him. I came back thinking I could just reclaim my place, Sophia continued, her voice breaking slightly. I thought being their biological mother gave me certain rights. But watching you with them, she wiped away a tear. You've given them everything I couldn't. Everything I didn't. Dr. Mitchell nodded encouragingly. What made you realize this, Sophia? The park incident, Sophia replied, looking at the twins with regret in her eyes. When they ran away because they were afraid of losing Sean, I realized I wasn't thinking about what was best for them. I was thinking about what I wanted. Chloe spoke up unexpectedly, her voice small but clear. Are you going to take us away from Daddy? Sophia shook her head firmly. No, sweetheart, I was wrong to even try. She looked at Sean again. You're their father in every way that matters. I see that now. I'd like to be part of their lives, but not by destroying what you've built. What are you suggesting? Sean asked carefully. Co-parenting, Sophia replied. With you retaining primary custody. I'd like to be involved in their lives, but on your terms. You've been their rock, their constant. I won't disrupt that anymore. Dr. Mitchell turned to Sean. How do you feel about that, Sean? Sean looked at his daughters, then back at Sophia. I never wanted to keep you from them. I just needed to protect them. I know, Sophia said softly. And I'm so sorry for everything. For lying about the paternity, for leaving, for coming back and causing chaos. You've been an amazing father, Sean. Better than I could have ever hoped for our girls. Emma looked up at Sophia. Does this mean you'll come to our school plays sometimes? A gentle smile crossed Sophia's face. If your daddy agrees, I'd love to. We could make a schedule, Sean offered, his voice steady. Regular visits, special events, but with clear boundaries. Dr. Mitchell smiled warmly. That's an excellent suggestion. We can work together to create a structure that makes everyone feel secure. She looked at the twins. How does that sound to you both? Chloe and Emma exchanged glances before Chloe spoke. Can Daddy still tuck us in every night? Always, Sean assured them, pulling them close. And can Miss Sophia come to our birthday parties? Emma added. Sophia's eyes welled up at the simple request. I'd be honored to, she said, looking at Sean for confirmation. He nodded, and for the first time since Sophia's return, the tension in the room began to dissolve into something that felt like hope. The weekend getaway was Sean's idea, a small cabin by Lake Pine, just a few hours' drive from home. The twins bounced in their seats the whole way there, their excitement filling the car with endless chatter and giggles. Rachel sat in the passenger seat, occasionally glancing at Sean with a warm smile as he navigated the winding mountain roads. "Look at all the trees." Emma pressed her face against the window, her breath fogging up the glass. "And the lake," Chloe added, pointing eagerly. "Can we go swimming, Daddy?" Sean chuckled. "It might be a bit too cold for swimming, sweetie, but we can definitely skip stones and feed the ducks." The cabin was cozy and rustic, with wooden walls and a stone fireplace. The twins immediately claimed the small loft bedroom, leaving Sean and Rachel to take the 2 rooms on the main floor. As they unpacked, the girls ran back and forth, exploring every corner of their weekend home. That evening, after a dinner of hot dogs and s'mores by the fire pit outside, the twins finally started to wind down. They sat on the cabin's front porch, wrapped in blankets, watching the stars appear one by one in the darkening sky. "Look, a shooting star!" Rachel pointed upward, and both girls gasped in delight. "Make a wish," Chloe whispered loudly, squeezing her eyes shut. Emma followed suit, her face scrunched up in concentration. When they opened their eyes, they shared a secret look and giggled. "What did you wish for?" Sean asked, knowing the answer before it came. "We can't tell you, Daddy," Emma said. "Then it won't come true." As the evening grew cooler, Sean ushered the sleepy twins inside and up to bed. Rachel helped them brush their teeth and change into their pajamas, moving through the nighttime routine as if she'd always been part of it. When the girls were finally asleep, Sean and Rachel found themselves alone on the porch, the night air crisp and clear around them. The lake reflected the moonlight, creating a peaceful scene before them. "Thank you for coming with us," Sean said softly, turning to face Rachel. "The girls love having you here, and so do I." Rachel's eyes shimmered in the moonlight. "I love being here with all of you. These past few months, watching you fight for them, seeing how much you love them. You're an amazing father, Sean." "I couldn't have done it without you," he replied, his voice thick with emotion. "You've been my rock through all of this. The girls rock too." Rachel reached out and took his hand. "They're such special little girls. And you're—" She paused, searching for words. "You're the most incredible man I've ever known." Sean moved closer, his free hand gently cupping her cheek. Their eyes met, and in that moment, all the years of friendship, support, and growing love crystallized into something profound. When their lips met, it felt like coming home. The next morning, as they made pancakes together in the cabin's small kitchen, the twins watched Sean and Rachel with knowing smiles. Over breakfast, Chloe suddenly announced, "You know what? Rachel is like our bonus mom." "Yeah," Emma agreed enthusiastically, "because she loves us and takes care of us, just like Daddy." Rachel's fork clattered against her plate as tears sprang to her eyes. Sean reached across the table and took her hand, his own eyes glistening. "Bonus mom?" Rachel repeated softly, her voice full of emotion. "I think that's the most beautiful title I've ever had." The twins jumped up from their seats and rushed to hug her, their small arms wrapping around her neck as she held them close, her tears falling freely now. Sean watched the scene before him, his heart so full it felt like it might burst. The family counselor's office was warm and inviting, with soft yellow walls and comfortable chairs arranged in a circle. Dr. Martinez, a woman in her 50s with kind eyes and silver-streaked hair, sat with her notepad, watching as Sean, Rachel, and Sophia settled into their seats. "I'm glad we could all meet today," Dr. Martinez began, her voice gentle but professional. "We've made significant progress in establishing open communication. Today, let's focus on creating a concrete co-parenting plan that puts Chloe and Emma's needs first." Sean sat straight-backed in his chair with Rachel beside him, offering silent support. Across from them, Sophia fidgeted with the sleeve of her blouse, looking both determined and uncertain. "I've been thinking," Sophia said, breaking the momentary silence. "The girls have their spring concert coming up at school next week. I'd like to attend." She glanced at Sean, then quickly added, "If that's okay." Sean tensed visibly, his jaw tightening. The spring concert was always special, a tradition he'd never missed since the twins started school. Having Sophia there would change the dynamic he'd carefully maintained over the years. "I understand your hesitation, Sean," Dr. Martinez interjected, noting his reaction. "But part of successful co-parenting is finding ways to include both parents in significant moments. How do you feel about this request?" Sean took a deep breath, feeling Rachel's reassuring hand on his arm. "I want what's best for the girls," he said slowly, "but I worry about confusing them. They're just starting to understand our new family structure." "That's a valid concern," Dr. Martinez acknowledged. "Sophia, what are your thoughts on Sean's perspective?" Sophia leaned forward, her expression earnest. "I know I've made mistakes, but I'm committed to being present in their lives now, in whatever way is healthy for them. I don't want to disrupt their routine or cause confusion. I just want to be there for the important moments." Rachel, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. "Maybe we could make it work if we have clear boundaries. The girls should know exactly what to expect." Dr. Martinez nodded approvingly. "That's an excellent suggestion, Rachel. Structure and predictability are crucial for children in these situations." "What if," Sean began, his voice thoughtful, "we explain to the girls beforehand that Sophia will be there? We could all sit separately to avoid any confusion, but make sure they know we're all there to support them." Sophia's face brightened. "I'd be fine with that. I just want them to know I care enough to be there." "Let's establish some guidelines," Dr. Martinez suggested, writing in her notepad. "First, how will we handle the greeting and goodbye process?" They spent the next hour working through the details. Sophia would arrive separately and sit in a different section. Sean and Rachel would maintain their usual routine with the girls before and after the performance. Sophia could greet them briefly afterward, but the main celebration would remain with Sean and Rachel as planned. "Remember," Dr. Martinez emphasized, looking at each of them in turn, "consistency and stability are key. The girls need to feel secure in their relationships with each of you. This means being reliable, respectful of boundaries, and always putting their emotional well-being first." "I can do that," Sophia said firmly. "I want to prove that I can be trusted with these smaller steps." Sean nodded slowly, beginning to see how this could work. "As long as we stick to the plan and keep communication open, I think we can make this work for the girls." Rachel squeezed Sean's hand supportively. "We're all here for Chloe and Emma. That's what matters most." The elementary school auditorium buzzed with excitement as parents and family members filed in, finding their seats among the rows of metal folding chairs. Sean and Rachel sat near the front, programs clutched in their hands, while Sophia and her fiancé James settled into seats several rows behind them. The spring concert's theme was Songs from Around the World, and backstage, Chloe and Emma waited with their classmates, dressed in matching blue dresses that Sean had carefully ironed the night before. Their dark curls were neatly braided, Rachel's handiwork from that morning. "Look how many people came," Rachel whispered to Sean, squeezing his hand. She could feel the tension in his shoulders, knowing he was hyper-aware of Sophia's presence. "The girls were so excited this morning," Sean replied softly. "They've been practicing their songs for weeks." As the lights dimmed, the principal walked onto the stage to introduce the first grade class. Sean's heart swelled with pride as he spotted Chloe and Emma in the second row, standing straight and tall, their eyes searching the audience until they found him. Both girls beamed and gave tiny waves, which Sean and Rachel returned. The concert proceeded smoothly, with the children singing songs from Mexico, Ireland, and Japan. During the final number, a sweet rendition of "It's a Small World," James's voice carried from the back, loud enough for nearby parents to hear. "Those twins in the second row, they're my fiancé's girls. We've been supporting them financially for years." Sean's back stiffened at the false claim, but Rachel placed a steadying hand on his arm. Behind them, they could hear Sophia whispering furiously, trying to quiet James. When the concert ended and parents gathered in the school hallway for cookies and punch, James approached the twins with an overly familiar smile. "Hey there, girls. Great job tonight. I bet all those voice lessons we paid for really helped, huh?" Chloe and Emma exchanged confused looks before Emma spoke up. "We don't take voice lessons. We practice with Daddy Sean every night before bed. He plays his guitar and everything. Yeah, Chloe added firmly. Daddy Sean is always there for us. He never misses anything important. James's face reddened as nearby parents turned to watch the exchange. Sophia quickly stepped forward, placing a hand on her fiancé's arm. "James, let's get some punch," she said tightly, steering him away from the girls. Rachel knelt down to the twins' level, smoothing Emma's slightly rumpled dress. "You both sang beautifully tonight. Those harmony parts were perfect." "Thanks, Rachel," they chorused, hugging her tightly. Sean watched the scene with warm eyes, grateful for how naturally Rachel fit into their family. Sophia approached them cautiously, having left James by the refreshment table. "The girls were wonderful," she said sincerely. "I'm sorry about James. He shouldn't have said those things." Sean nodded, accepting her apology with grace. "What matters is that Chloe and Emma had a great night." The twins, picking up on the adults' attempt at harmony, smiled brightly. "Can we get cookies now?" Chloe asked hopefully. "Of course," Sean laughed. "Let's all go together." As they walked to the refreshment table, the twins skipping ahead, Sean realized this was what true co-parenting looked like, putting aside personal differences and focusing on the children's happiness. Rachel's presence beside him and Sophia's respectful distance created a balance that, while not perfect, felt workable. Later that evening, after the twins were tucked into bed, Sean and Rachel sat on the back porch swing. The spring air was cool and sweet, carrying the scent of blooming jasmine from Mrs. Calloway's garden next door. The porch light cast a warm glow around them as they gently swayed back and forth. "Thank you for being there tonight," Sean said softly, his hand finding Rachel's in the dim light. "I don't know what I would have done if you hadn't been beside me when James started making those claims." Rachel squeezed his hand. "You would have handled it just fine. You always do." She paused, turning slightly to face him. "But I'm glad I was there. Those girls mean the world to me too." Sean's throat tightened with emotion. "You've been amazing through all of this. The custody battle, the DNA results, everything. I don't think I've ever properly thanked you." "You don't need to thank me," Rachel replied, her voice soft but steady. "Being part of your lives, it's everything I've wanted for so long." The swing creaked gently as Sean shifted to face her. "What do you mean?" Rachel took a deep breath, her heart pounding. "Sean, I need to tell you something. I've been keeping it inside for years, and after everything we've been through together, I think it's time you knew." She met his eyes in the warm glow of the porch light. "I've been in love with you since college." Sean's eyes widened and Rachel continued, her words tumbling out. "I watched you become this incredible father, putting your whole heart into raising the twins. Every time you needed help or support, I jumped at the chance to be there. Not just because you're my friend, but because I fell more in love with you every day." "Rachel," Sean whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "I had no idea. I never wanted to complicate things," she explained. "You had so much on your plate with the girls, and then everything with Sophia. The timing never seemed right." Sean reached up and gently touched her cheek. "You've been my rock through everything. The way you are with Chloe and Emma, how naturally you fit into our lives. I think I've been falling in love with you too, but I was afraid of risking our friendship." Rachel leaned into his touch, tears gathering in her eyes. "So what do we do now?" "I think," Sean said slowly, "we should stop pretending we're just friends. I want to do this right. Take you on real dates, build something solid together." He smiled softly. "The girls already adore you, and I want to show you every day how much you mean to all of us." "I'd like that," Rachel whispered, her heart soaring. "But are you sure? With everything that's happened with Sophia and the custody arrangement?" "I've never been more sure of anything," Sean replied firmly. "You've proven over and over that you're in this for all the right reasons. You love the girls for who they are, and you've supported us without asking for anything in return. That's more than I could ever hope for in a partner." Rachel's smile brightened the dim porch. "Partner," she repeated softly. "I like the sound of that." Sean leaned forward, pressing his forehead against hers. "So do I. We'll take it slow, do everything right, The girls come first, always. Always, Rachel agreed, her eyes shining with happy tears. We're already a team, Sean. This just makes it official. They sat together on the porch swing, hands intertwined, hearts full of hope for their future together. The jasmine-scented breeze wrapped around them like a blessing as they began this new chapter of their lives. Sophia stood in her modern apartment kitchen, gripping the edge of the granite countertop as James paced back and forth. The evening light cast long shadows across the floor, matching the growing tension between them. I just don't understand why you need to be so involved, James said, running his fingers through his hair in frustration. They have Sean, and now this Rachel woman too. Why complicate things? They're my daughters, James, Sophia replied, her voice tight. I can't just pretend they don't exist because it makes you uncomfortable. James stopped pacing and faced her. That's not what I'm saying. But you gave up your rights years ago. Now suddenly you want to attend every school event, every parent-teacher conference. He shook his head. It feels like you're trying to prove something. The words hit Sophia like a physical blow. She turned away, staring out the window at the city lights below. Maybe I am, she whispered, more to herself than to him. Look, James continued, his voice softer but still firm. We talked about starting our own family after the wedding. How is that going to work if you're constantly running back and forth between our life and theirs? Sophia felt something shift inside her as she listened to his words. For the first time, she heard the selfishness in his tone, the lack of understanding for what truly mattered. She thought about Chloe and Emma's faces at the school event, how they'd defended Sean without hesitation. They hadn't needed to. Their love for him was evident in every interaction, every smile, every casual daddy that fell from their lips. I made a mistake, she said quietly. Finally, James sighed. So you'll back off? Sophia turned to face him, tears in her eyes but her voice steady. No, I made a mistake thinking I needed to prove myself to anyone. Those girls deserve better than someone who's only there to ease their own guilt or impress others. James's expression hardened. What are you saying? I'm saying that if you can't understand why being part of their lives matters to me, then maybe we need to rethink things. She slipped her engagement ring off and placed it on the counter. I need to go. The drive to Sean's house gave Sophia time to think. By the time she pulled into his driveway, the sun had set completely. She saw the warm glow of the porch light and the twins' bedroom light upstairs. Taking a deep breath, she walked to the door and knocked. Sean answered, surprise evident on his face. Sophia, is everything okay? Can we talk? She asked. Please? He hesitated but stepped aside to let her in. In the living room, she could see evidence of the twins everywhere. Artwork on the walls, stuffed animals on the couch, a half-finished puzzle on the coffee table. I need to apologize again, Sophia began, her voice thick with emotion. Not just for the past, but for how I've been handling things lately. She met Sean's eyes. I've been so focused on proving I could be their mother that I forgot to actually be what they need, someone who puts their happiness first. Sean watched her carefully, saying nothing. I don't want to disrupt their lives anymore, she continued. I want to be someone they can count on, but not someone who forces their way in. They have you. They've always had you. And that's what matters most. What brought this on? Sean asked quietly. Reality, Sophia replied with a sad smile. And finally being honest with myself about what's really important. She glanced toward the stairs. Are they asleep? Just went up a few minutes ago. Good, she nodded. I don't want to disturb them. I just wanted you to know that from now on, I'll follow your lead. Whatever you think is best for them, that's what we'll do. No more pushing, no more agenda. Just being there in whatever way helps them most. Rachel stood in Sean's cozy kitchen, mixing pancake batter while Chloe and Emma sat at the counter, their little legs swinging back and forth. Sunlight streamed through the window, casting a warm glow over their Saturday morning together. Can we add chocolate chips? Chloe asked, her eyes bright with hope. And blueberries? Emma chimed in, not wanting to be left out. Rachel laughed, her heart warming at their enthusiasm. How about we make both kinds? That way, everyone gets their favorite. The twins squealed with delight, high-fiving each other across the counter. While Sean was at work covering an extra weekend shift, Rachel had volunteered to spend the day with the girls. These moments had become precious to her, filling her life with a joy she hadn't known she was missing. "First, we need to wash our hands," Rachel reminded them, helping each girl reach the sink with the step stool Sean had built. As they made breakfast together, flour dusted their clothes and giggles filled the air. Rachel showed them how to flip pancakes safely, holding their small hands steady over the spatula. The pride in their faces when they succeeded made her chest tight with emotion. After breakfast, they moved to the living room floor, spreading out paper and crayons for their traditional Saturday morning art session. Rachel sat cross-legged between them, watching as they bent over their drawings with intense concentration. "What are you two creating?" she asked, noticing their secretive glances and whispered conversations. "It's a surprise," Emma declared, using her arm to shield her artwork. "You can't peek until we're done," Chloe added firmly. Rachel pretended to be deeply involved in her own drawing while sneaking fond glances at the girls. Their tongues poked out slightly as they worked, a habit they'd picked up from Sean when he was focused on something important. After what felt like hours but was probably only 20 minutes, both girls sat up straight. "Ready," they announced in unison. "Can I see now?" Rachel asked, setting aside her own drawing. The twins nodded eagerly, holding up their pictures. Rachel's breath caught in her throat as she took in what they'd created. Both drawings showed 5 figures holding hands under a bright yellow sun. In Chloe's picture, the figures were labeled in wobbly letters: Daddy, Rachel, me, Emma, and Sophia. Emma's drawing had the same labels, though she'd drawn everyone wearing matching rainbow t-shirts. "It's our new family," Emma explained proudly. "See, there's Daddy and you," Chloe pointed out. "And me and Emma and Sophia too, because she visits sometimes now." Rachel felt tears prick at her eyes as she studied the drawings. The figures were all smiling, surrounded by hearts and flowers. In both pictures, she noticed she'd been drawn right next to Sean, their stick figure hands clasped together. "Do you like it?" Emma asked, suddenly sounding uncertain. Rachel pulled both girls into a tight hug. "I love it," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "These are the most beautiful pictures I've ever seen." The twins squeezed her back, their small arms wrapped around her neck. In that moment, Rachel felt the full weight of what these drawings meant. How completely these 2 precious girls had accepted her into their world. How naturally they'd included her in their vision of family. "Can we hang them on the fridge?" Chloe asked hopefully. "Of course we can," Rachel replied, wiping her eyes quickly. "In fact, I think these deserve our very best magnets." As she helped them carefully arrange their artwork on the refrigerator, Rachel's heart felt fuller than she'd ever thought possible. These drawings weren't just pictures, they were a promise, a hope, a future she hadn't dared to dream of until now. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across Sean's backyard as neighbors streamed in with covered dishes and warm smiles. Colorful balloons bobbed in the gentle breeze, and a hand-painted banner proudly declared, "Congratulations, Chloe and Emma." Sean watched from the grill as his daughters showed off their science fair certificates to anyone who would look. "They're growing up so fast," Mrs. Calloway said, placing her famous potato salad on the buffet table. "And doing so well in school. You should be proud, Sean." Sean smiled, flipping burgers with practiced ease. "I am. Every single day." Rachel moved through the crowd with natural grace, making sure everyone had drinks and felt welcome. She'd spent the morning helping the twins decorate, and now wore a splash of glitter on her cheek that caught the sunlight. Every so often, she'd catch Sean's eye and smile, making his heart skip a beat. Sophia arrived carrying a tray of cupcakes she'd baked herself, each one decorated with tiny mathematical symbols, a nod to the twins' recent success in their math competition. She looked different somehow, more settled in her own skin. "These are beautiful," Rachel said, helping her arrange them on the dessert table. "The girls will love them." "I hope so," Sophia replied softly. "I've been taking some baking classes. Thought it might be nice to have something special we could do together sometimes." The twins spotted the cupcakes and rushed over, their eyes wide with excitement. "Did you make these?" Chloe asked Sophia. When Sophia nodded, Emma threw her arms around her waist. "They look just like the ones in our math book." The moment could have been awkward, but Rachel stepped back naturally, giving mother and daughter space to share their joy. Sean watched the interaction from across the yard, his chest tight with gratitude for how far they'd all come. "You've got quite a support system here," Mr. Jensen, their next-door neighbor, commented as he joined Sean at the grill. "Not many families could make this work, but you've all put those girls first. It shows." More neighbors added their agreement, sharing stories of seeing Sean walking the twins to school every morning, rain or shine, or Rachel helping them practice for their science fair presentation in the front yard. Mrs. Calloway recalled how she'd watched Sean raise them alone for years, never complaining even when times were tough. As the evening progressed, Sophia pulled Sean and Rachel aside while the twins were busy showing their friends how to make friendship bracelets. "I wanted you both to know," she began, twisting her hands together. "I've ended things with David." She glanced at their surprised faces. "He couldn't understand why I wanted to be involved in the girls' lives without trying to take over. But that's not what they need. They need stability and love, and..." She looked at Sean and Rachel. "They have that with you two. I just want to be their mom, in whatever way works best for them." Rachel reached out and squeezed Sophia's hand. "You're doing the right thing, focusing on what the girls need." "We'll figure it out together," Sean added, his voice gentle. "Day by day." Their conversation was interrupted by twin shouts of, "Daddy, Rachel, Sophia, come see our bracelets." The three adults shared a knowing look before heading over to admire the colorful creations. Around them, neighbors watched with approval as this unconventional family demonstrated what love really looked like. Messy sometimes, but always genuine, always putting the children first. Sean stood in his kitchen watching the twins huddle over the dining room table, their heads bent together as they worked on their secret project. Colored paper, glitter, and markers spread across the surface like a creative explosion. "Daddy, is this heart too sparkly?" Emma held up a red paper heart covered in so much glitter that it practically snowed onto the floor. "No such thing as too sparkly," Sean replied, his own hands busy preparing sandwiches for the picnic. His heart raced every time he thought about what he was planning to do. The small velvet box in his pocket felt heavier than it should. Chloe carefully wrote, "We love you, Rachel," on a banner, her tongue sticking out in concentration. "Do you think she'll cry happy tears? Like in those movies Mrs. Calloway watches?" Sean smiled, remembering all the times Rachel had been there for them. The late-night phone calls when he needed advice about raising girls. The way she'd dropped everything to help during the custody battle. How naturally she fit into their family movie nights, already knowing exactly how Chloe liked her popcorn and that Emma needed extra pillows. "I think she might," he said softly, wrapping another sandwich in wax paper. "Remember how we practiced?" The twins jumped up and down, reciting their rehearsed lines in unison. "Rachel, will you be our forever bonus mom?" Sean's eyes misted over. He'd been a single father for so long, carrying the weight of responsibility alone. But with Rachel, everything felt lighter, more manageable. She brought balance to their lives, filling empty spaces they hadn't even realized were there. "The flowers," Emma suddenly gasped, running to check on the small bouquet they'd picked from their garden that morning. "They're still pretty, right?" "Beautiful," Sean assured her, though the daisies and wildflowers were slightly wilted. Somehow, that made them even more perfect, real and honest, just like their family. Chloe carefully folded her latest creation, a paper airplane with "We love you" written on the wings. "Can I throw this when you get down on one knee? Please?" "Let's stick to the plan," Sean chuckled, though his nerves were starting to show. "Just the banner and the flowers. We don't want to overwhelm her." The twins shared a look that suggested they had other ideas, but they nodded anyway. Sean watched them return to their crafting, their small hands creating decorations with such care and love. They'd been through so much together, and Rachel had helped them heal in ways he hadn't thought possible. "Do you think she knows?" Emma asked, adding another heart to their growing collection. Sean thought about Rachel's smile that morning when he'd invited her for a picnic, the way she'd squeezed his hand before heading to work. "I think she suspects something," he admitted. "But that's okay. Sometimes the best moments are the ones you can see coming." Chloe carefully packed their handmade decorations into a bag, making sure nothing got crushed. "Mrs. Calloway says Rachel looks at you like you hung the moon," she said matter-of-factly. "And the stars," Emma added with a giggle. Sean felt his cheeks warm as he packed the last sandwich. The truth was, Rachel looked at all of them that way, like they were precious, like they were worth every moment of her time and love. She'd become such an essential part of their lives that this next step felt less like a leap and more like coming home. "Okay, team," Sean said, gathering the twins for a quick huddle. "Operation Perfect Picnic starts in 1 hour. Are we ready?" "Ready," they chorused, their eyes bright with excitement and anticipation. Rachel arrived at the park, her heart fluttering at the sight of Sean and the twins waiting for her near their favorite oak tree. A checkered blanket was spread beneath its branches, and a picnic basket promised delicious treats. "Rachel!" The twins rushed toward her, their matching sundresses swishing as they ran. They hugged her legs tightly, their faces beaming with barely contained excitement. "We made everything special," Emma whispered loudly, earning a gentle shh from her sister. Sean stood back watching the scene with tender eyes. The late afternoon sun caught Rachel's hair, making it shine like honey. She looked beautiful in her simple blue dress, but what truly took his breath away was how naturally she fit into their little family tableau. "This is lovely," Rachel said, settling onto the blanket, "though I have to wonder why everyone looks like they're about to burst with secrets." Sean tried to keep his voice steady as he began unpacking the food. "Can't we just want to have a nice picnic with our favorite person?" The twins giggled, squirming as they helped distribute napkins and plates. They kept shooting meaningful glances at each other and their father, making Rachel raise an eyebrow in amused suspicion. As they finished their sandwiches, Sean's hand crept toward his pocket where the ring waited. He caught the twins' attention and gave them a slight nod. "Now?" Chloe whispered excitedly. "Now," Sean confirmed softly. The girls scrambled to their feet, disappearing behind the oak tree for a moment before emerging with their handmade banner. They held it high, the words, "Say yes, Rachel," sparkling with glitter in the sunlight. Rachel's hands flew to her mouth, her eyes widening as Sean moved to kneel before her. "Rachel," he began, his voice thick with emotion, "you've been there for us through everything. You helped me fight for my girls when I thought I might lose them. You've loved them like they were your own from day one." He pulled out the velvet box, opening it to reveal a simple but elegant ring. "You've shown me what it means to have a true partner, someone who stands beside me through both storms and sunshine." The twins edged closer, still holding their banner high, their eyes shining with happy tears. "You make our family complete," Sean continued, his own eyes growing misty. "You bring out the best in all of us. Will you marry me?" Rachel's tears spilled over as she nodded emphatically. "Yes," she managed to say through her emotions. "Yes, of course, yes." The twins dropped their banner and rushed forward as Sean slipped the ring onto Rachel's finger. All four of them came together in a tight embrace, laughing and crying at the same time. "We're going to be a real family," Emma exclaimed, her small arms wrapped around Rachel's neck. "Sweetheart, we already were," Rachel said softly, pulling both girls closer while reaching for Sean's hand. "This just makes it official." They held each other under the oak tree, their hearts full of joy and love, celebrating the moment their family became complete. The morning sun filtered through the kitchen windows as Sean, Rachel, and Sophia sat at the table, discussing their plans over coffee. The atmosphere was relaxed, a far cry from their tense meetings just months ago. "I was thinking," Sophia began, her hands wrapped around her coffee mug. "I'd like to take the girls to the Children's Museum this weekend. They mentioned wanting to see the new butterfly exhibit." Sean nodded, sharing a glance with Rachel. "They've been talking about it nonstop. That would be wonderful." "We could all have dinner afterward," Rachel suggested warmly. "The girls would love that." Sophia's face brightened. "I'd like that. And I wanted to say thank you both for being so understanding about the co-parenting arrangement. Seeing how happy the girls are, it means everything. In the living room, Chloe and Emma were sprawled on the floor, drawing pictures of butterflies in anticipation of their weekend adventure. "I can't wait to go with Mom Sophia," Emma exclaimed, reaching for a purple crayon. Chloe nodded enthusiastically. "And then dinner with Daddy and Mom Rachel, too." She sat up, her eyes sparkling. "We're so lucky, aren't we? We get two moms who love us." The adults, overhearing the girls' conversation, shared emotional smiles. "They're right," Sean said softly. "They are lucky, we all are." That weekend, Sophia arrived early, greeting the twins with warm hugs. The girls were bubbling with excitement, showing her their butterfly drawings before they left. "Look what we made." Chloe held up her picture proudly. "These are beautiful," Sophia said, genuinely touched. "We can hang them in my apartment when you come to visit." Emma tugged at Sophia's sleeve. "Can we put one on your fridge? Mom Rachel always puts our drawings on the fridge." "Of course we can, sweetheart," Sophia replied, her voice gentle. "I'd love that." As they prepared to leave, the twins hugged Sean and Rachel goodbye. "See you at dinner," they called out in unison. Rachel squeezed Sean's hand as they watched the three walk to Sophia's car. "You know," she said, "I never thought we'd get here, but this feels right." "It does," Sean agreed. "The girls having all of us in their corner, working together instead of against each other. It's exactly what they deserve." The twins waved from the car window, their faces beaming with joy, secure in the knowledge that they were surrounded by people who loved them unconditionally. Their family might not look like others, but it was perfect for them. The idea for the neighborhood library project sparked one evening when Sean found Chloe and Emma sharing their favorite storybook with the kids next door. Their enthusiasm for reading had always warmed his heart, but seeing them spread that joy to others made him realize their community needed something special. "What if we could share books with everyone?" Rachel suggested, watching the twins excitedly explain the story's pictures to their friends. Sean's eyes lit up. "The old storage building on Oak Street. It would be perfect for a small library." The twins bounced with excitement when their parents shared the idea. "Can we help pick the books?" Chloe asked, her eyes wide. "And make it pretty," Emma added, already reaching for her crayons. Over the next few weeks, the family worked together to transform the space. Sean handled the renovations while Rachel organized book donations. The twins took their role as junior librarians very seriously, carefully selecting children's books and creating colorful signs for different sections. "We need comfy pillows here," Emma declared, pointing to a corner they'd designated as the reading nook, "and maybe some stuffed animals?" "And a special shelf just for kid books," Chloe added, arranging her favorite series with careful attention. When Sophia heard about the project, she immediately offered to help. "I'd love to contribute," she told Sean during one of the twins' visits. "Maybe I could handle the arts and crafts station for the opening day?" The morning of the library's opening, the whole family worked together setting up. Sophia arrived early with craft supplies and helped the twins arrange their reading corner exactly how they wanted it. "Look at these beautiful bookmarks you made," Rachel said, admiring the twins' handiwork as they prepared for the guests. "Mom Sophia helped us," Emma beamed, proud of the colorful designs. "And Daddy built these awesome shelves," Chloe added, running her hand along the smooth wood. Neighbors began arriving, bringing more books to donate and expressing amazement at the transformation. The twins took turns giving tours of their special corner, explaining with pride how they'd helped organize everything. "This is what community looks like," one neighbor remarked, watching Sean, Rachel, and Sophia work seamlessly together to help visitors find books and get library cards. The girls fluttered between the adults, their faces glowing with joy as they showed off their contribution to the project. They'd arranged their reading corner with careful thought, picture books at the bottom where little kids could reach them, chapter books neatly organized by series, and comfortable cushions arranged in a cozy circle. "Can we read a story now?" Emma asked, already pulling her favorite book from the shelf. "Of course," Sean smiled, watching as children from the neighborhood gathered around to listen. Rachel sat down with the kids while Sophia helped another group with craft projects. The sight of everyone working together, brought together by the twins' love of reading, made Sean's heart swell with pride. As autumn settled in, the Harper family began establishing new traditions that brought them closer together. Every Friday became movie night, with the twins taking turns choosing films while Sean and Rachel prepared special snacks. They'd all pile onto the couch wrapped in soft blankets, creating the kind of cozy moments that felt like snapshots of perfect happiness. "Can we watch the princess movie again?" Emma asked one evening, clutching her favorite stuffed unicorn. "But we watched that last week," Chloe protested, though her smile showed she didn't really mind. Rachel brought in a bowl of popcorn, settling between the girls. "How about we take turns? Emma's choice this week, Chloe's next week?" The weekends became time for giving back to their community. Sometimes they'd help at the local animal shelter. Other times they'd join neighborhood cleanup efforts. The twins especially loved helping at the library they'd helped create, reading to younger children during story time. As the months passed, their calendar filled with special moments. At the twins' school play, Sean and Rachel sat in the front row, cameras ready, while Sophia beamed proudly from the seat next to them. Chloe played a talking tree while Emma was cast as a wise owl, and all three parents cheered equally loud at the final bow. Their 7th birthday celebration was held in the backyard, decorated with twinkling lights and colorful streamers. Friends and neighbors gathered around as the twins blew out their candles, making identical wishes with matching grins. During Thanksgiving, they hosted a feast that brought together their unique family. The dining room table, extended to its full length, barely contained all the dishes everyone had contributed. Sophia had arrived early to help the twins make place cards for everyone, each decorated with careful drawings and stickers. As they gathered around the table, Sophia stood up, holding her glass of sparkling cider. Her eyes glistened as she looked at her daughters, then at Sean and Rachel. "I want to say something," she began, her voice soft with emotion. "Watching these two amazing girls grow up, surrounded by so much love, it's more than I could have hoped for. Sean, Rachel, you've created such a beautiful home for them. The way you've welcomed me into this family, allowing me to be part of their lives, I'm so grateful." The twins looked up at their mother with bright eyes while Sean and Rachel exchanged touched glances. Sophia continued, "Every time I see them, they're happier, more confident, more loving, and that's because of the incredible example you both set." Chloe and Emma got up from their seats and rushed to hug Sophia, then moved to embrace Sean and Rachel, creating a group hug that said more than words could express. The moment captured everything their family had become, complicated, unconventional, but filled with more love than any of them had imagined possible. The school auditorium buzzed with excitement as parents and students filled the seats for the annual talent show. Sean and Rachel sat in the front row, their hands clasped together, while Sophia settled in beside them, her camera ready. Backstage, Chloe and Emma adjusted their matching blue dresses, practicing their lines one last time. They had spent weeks preparing their special performance, a combination of poetry and song that they'd written themselves. When their names were called, the twins stepped onto the stage, their faces glowing under the bright lights. The piano music began softly, and their clear voices rang out in perfect harmony. "This is for our amazing dad Sean and our bonus mom Rachel," they announced together, causing tears to well up in both Sean and Rachel's eyes. Their song spoke of love that grows stronger every day, of bedtime stories and morning hugs, of movie nights and library adventures. As they performed, their genuine joy touched everyone in the audience. Even Sophia found herself wiping away tears, watching her daughters express such pure love for their family. The final notes of their song faded into thunderous applause. Sean wrapped his arm around Rachel's shoulders, pulling her close. "Family isn't who you're born with," he whispered in her ear as they clapped. "It's who you love unconditionally." After the show, the family made their way through the crowded auditorium, accepting congratulations from neighbors and other parents. The twins held hands with both Rachel and Sean, while Sophia walked beside them, all of them glowing with pride and happiness. As they stepped outside into the early evening air, their path took them past the community library. The newly installed bronze plaque caught the last rays of sunlight. Dedicated to the Harper family, a love beyond blood. They paused for a moment, their hands still linked, forming an unbreakable chain of love that had grown stronger through every challenge they'd faced together. If you enjoyed the story of Sean and the twins, I handpicked this next story that will touch your heart. Please don't miss this one. Click here to watch it.